All right, what's up, everybody, and welcome back to a Friday altcoins watch list. So first, before we just go ahead and get started, I do want to just kind of say that the point of these are supposed to be about consistency and how very minimal effort can put you well ahead of other market participants, right? By just simply assessing, and doing a quick market scan can take literally less than 15 minutes. You give yourself an immediate edge in terms of what you're looking at to trade, right? So the opportunities are going to be more sort of fruitful because you're looking at and getting rid of a lot of the bullshit and spending more time on things that have that hype around them, right? So you're going to find that oftentimes I'm finding myself in these coins with these very strong narratives or have this like hype behind them for whatever different reason, maybe a catalyst in terms of fundamentals or whatever it may be. And I'm finding myself in these exact same coins as you, who's willing to do all that kind of research. And all I'm doing is scanning the market and looking, within 15 minutes, I can tell what is it that I need to be paying attention to and what is it that is not really relevant at all. But first, just to give a sort of like template to call back to. Let's just look at Bitcoin. And Bitcoin itself, for the past 3 weeks or so, has pretty much just gone sideways. Right now, obviously, this is an uptrend. This is us trying to break up out of that sideways as I speak. But the past 3 weeks, we've really just gone sideways. When you compare something like ETH, right, you can immediately see the difference between the two. So even if you're not willing to go and trade these illiquid shit coins, right, or maybe just a trending altcoin, or maybe you're just willing to trade majors and that's all you really care about, right? You don't like trading alts or whatever it may be. Then there's immediately no real appeal to go and trade BTC over ETH, right? If we are profit maximalists, which is the most cringiest shit you could ever possibly say, right? If you have that in your bio, I immediately assume, unless you're nomad, I immediately assume that you just don't know what the fuck you're doing. But if you are a true profit maximalist that only trades majors, there's zero reason for you to go and trade BTC instead of ETH. Look at this trend, look at the volatile range in comparison, right? To something like BTC, which everyone's getting all, nice and bullish for because of a 2% move. At least if you're getting bullish on ETH, then you're getting bullish on a 6% move, right? So it's a massive difference just in that sense. And then obviously the higher beta, understanding kicks in, and then we go to, our liquid shit coins, our favorite, shit coins from there. But that is a very simple understanding. So you can see that sort of discrepancy between those two immediately. It's a 4 second rule kind of thing. You notice that within 4 seconds, right? That's the whole stem around this concept. So from there, we dive into, of course, our favorite illiquid shitcoins. So really quick, we'll go over. I think the last video was about 5 coins or so, and then I actually did a video the next week. So like we have had like a 2 weeks, period where I just didn't make any videos for these watch lists. But I made a video the next week, and then it was the same 3 coins of the 5 coins that we had did the week before that. And in the last, altcoins watch list video, I pretty much just said, "Hey, I'm not really going to be trading any of these coins for their own, reasons." Ocean is one of those coins that was on that watch list, and I mentioned, I'm not really going to be looking to trade this, even though it is quite clearly uptrending and it's outperforming the rest of the market. Ocean is one of those coins that is being shilled by these accounts with 100,000 followers because it's very easy for them to manipulate, accumulate some bags and then shill to you on Twitter and have you pump their bags for them. That's exactly what this wick is. It's probably what this wick is too, if I had to guess. That's what this is. That's what that is. That's what this is. Right. So it's like, I'm not going to be the one participating in that. But when you look at it structurally, you can see the massive difference between something like Ocean and something like BTC or even ETH. You can see that within 4 seconds. Right. So for that reason, right, one of the strongest coins that I found was one of the coins that I already found the week prior that I already stated I'm not going to be trading. So another one that falls in line with that exact same idea was Monero. Monero was the coin in our last watch list that continued to perform. And like I said, this is very stair steppy, very odd, very algo driven kind of price action. It's not really something that I really feel like trading. There's probably 5 humans altogether trading Monero, and the rest are just bots, right? So it's not something I'm willing to trade, but regardless, you can see the strength here. You can see how relatively, even though we're at resistance, you have like a daily supply zone, you could say. You can see the massive relative strength in comparison to the rest of the market, right? You can break that down and say, oh, look, let's look and try and find a lower time frame trend. We had something like the hourly 200s. Once those broke, we said, hey, you could now look to short Monero, right? Based on the exact same idea. We saw that sort of downtrend. We almost kind of bearish retested this, but it was kind of choppy. And eventually, after reclaiming that trend, you managed to continue uptrending, right? The initial trend in the first place. So up, you lose that trend, you see downside, and then you reclaim that trend, you see up. So now we're going a little bit more parabolic, which means that if you want to be trading Monero, you have to be zooming into even lower time frame price action that I really do not care to be trading, something like the 15-minute chart along this trend, and then you have to kind of scale your assumptions from there. So really, again, that just means that I'm even less interested in trading Monero, because if I want to trade Monero, I have to zoom into the 15-minute time frame and trade it intraday and sort of be like this, more of like a scalper, which is totally against my nature at this point in my trading career. But that doesn't mean that you can't, right? You see the system. It's very simple. It's very clear cut. It's easy to understand. Just adopt that sort of winner's mindset and understand how you're looking to scale your assumptions, and what to look for moving forward. Uh, there were some other coins. I think Rune was another one. I don't know what it did. I didn't really pay too much attention to it. Again, it's been like 2 weeks since I put out one of these videos. So pretty much everything is kind of just irrelevant at this point, except for I believe those two coins were the ones that just continued. So hopefully, at the very minimum, the idea behind these videos being put out is becoming clear to everybody. The idea is we scan the market, we get rid of the bullshit, we don't entertain the shit that does not, isn't worthy of our attention. We only give ourselves a couple coins to work with. Those tend to be the coins with the hype behind them, with the fundamental, news catalyst, retail driven, whatever it may be, right? Whales, you're accumulating them. Your favorite influencers on Twitter, are shilling them. Whatever it may be, we tend to find ourselves in those coins, and they, outperform, and then they continue to outperform. Even if we come back 3 weeks later, it's still very obvious how they've outperformed and how you could have obviously given yourself a much, you know, better advantage over the rest of the market by just paying attention to those coins rather than trying to, knife catch or whatever it may be. So, moving into this week's watch list, couple things. So, Sol is something that we should probably be paying attention to, mainly because the 4 hour chart, so 4 hour 200 moving averages, pretty key, pretty significant. Also, a local resistance level along with that. So, we're trying to flip that into support. So if this does manage to flip them as as support and reclaim that sort of a trend, then it kind of does set the stage for a much bigger push upwards, right? And if you just so happen to be a subscriber to the belief of, oh my God, my short squeeze, oh my God, shorts are, oh, look at funding, it's so negative. Oh, somehow Sam getting released from jail is extremely bullish for Solana ecosystem, whatever it may be, right? Whatever your narrative is, you are now a subscriber to my belief as well, which is if we are breaking out above the 4 hour 200s and reclaiming support levels, right, and continuing an already low time frame uptrend, but just to a much greater extent at this point, right? Then we're probably going to continue and see that trend, continue to outperform something like Bitcoin, something like ETH, right? In the event that we lose that region, well, now your thesis is invalidated. Now you can't really give me an argument as to why Sam getting released from jail or on probation or whatever the hell it may be, right? As of like here, you can't really tell me why that's going to be a bullish argument because I don't believe you anymore, right? Because the chart at that point is not heading to this top right corner anymore. And you can break this down on lower time frames as well. Again, the only way that you would have been really trading Sol is by assessing a very, very low time frame trend and acknowledging when that trend flipped as support, right? So here, that's where you position long. You probably hide your stop either below this low or maybe below that low, right? And then you look for continuation from there. And that's where you get these like 1 minute 20% candles. I think it happened there, it happened here as well, and then I think another 10% one or so somewhere in this price action, right? So that's where you get to participate and be a winner in that sort of like illiquid scam pump, exit rally, short squeeze, whatever the hell you want to call it, right? Whatever arbitrary definition you want to tie to that price action, you would have had to sort of establish a position prior and then benefited thereafter. There's really no fucking way in hell that you're setting a conditional, market order to buy Sol once it breaks out of $10, and then you are buying and participating and thriving during that price action. You are probably getting slipped to absolute hell and end up buying the exact top, right? If you're trading anything more, any position size more than like $100, which I would think is probably most of you, right? So it's like there's no real way to benefit on this sort of a trend unless you pre-establish this a position based on this low time frame trend shift, or you are the person sitting down watching screens for 8 hours a day and trading something like the 5 minute chart or the 1 minute chart or whatever it may be, right? That's really the only way that I see that you benefit from this price action. Everyone else on Twitter that's clout claiming, oh my god, look, I told you we would short squeeze or whatever. Those people are complete idiots because we're literally seeing Sol echo bubble back into prices from 2 weeks ago, right? So those people are complete fucking idiots. Just yesterday, I saw somebody clout claiming that they bought Sol at $12 here, and that everyone that tried to say that they were an idiot is actually the idiot because here's Sol trading at $12 again. And it's like, dude, come on. You were wrong by negative 30%. There's no edge there. There's no alpha. You can't tell me that you're a winner long term. The winners long term are the people who are assessing the strength as it comes and then adapting, whether it be low time frame, 5 minute, 15 minute, whatever it may be, somewhere down here, and then being rewarded, or just now starting to acknowledge some strong bullish arguments across the 4 hour chart and scaling those to much higher degrees, right? So that's the way that I see it, at least. And obviously, if that trend breaks, then thesis invalid, and you can probably argue why the top on Sol is actually in. Right, and this is just this sort of like relief rally and overextension of the very high time frame downtrend, but only to resume the high time frame downtrend, right? Similar to this little glimpse, similar to over here, right? You had your fun, but high time frame trend, right, is still going to high time frame trend, and that means that we're just going to go down and create new lows, right? So that's how I would look to trade Sol. The other thing is Litecoin. So Litecoin, pretty much the same exact sort of idea, same concept. Pretty clear cut trend along 4 hour 200 moving averages, right? Downtrend, uptrend, downtrend, and then here we are reclaiming them. So we're trying to break out above this resistance and flip it into support. We're trying to reclaim the 4 hour 200 moving averages that we broke out of a few days ago and are just now sort of like tried to retest, but we're getting like front ran or whatever you want to call it. The reason we're probably getting front ran on that idea is because you can portray that idea on a much lower time frame scale and then kind of just scale your assumptions, right? You don't have to be the person waiting for 4 hour candles to close and daily candles to close or whatever. You can sort of pinpoint and be more like precise with an entry and your analysis by using something like these hourly 200s and basing your assumptions off of those instead. This is the same trend that we acknowledged for all of this price action when Litecoin was part of our watch list. It's the exact same thing that when we lost and then eventually broke down below this low time frame range, we used as like an assessment of is there even a reason to watch Litecoin moving forward? And then here we are showing some strength, and here we are compounding that strength into something much bigger. Right, so you have like a local resistance here, somewhere around $79 or so. If you manage to break out above that, then you would simply just say, "Oh, look, the exact same uptrend, right? That started as an uptrend here, that compounded as an even stronger uptrend here, is now continuing the exact same uptrend. We're probably going to $98, right? So that's exactly how I would look to play Litecoin. I would, for the most part, say that this trade is behind us now with this sort of a quick reaction. but regardless, it is still an outperformer in the market. You do theoretically, right, in an ideal world where everything is butterflies and dandelions and rainbows, you do give yourself an edge, an advantage by looking for setups on Litecoin, you know, relative to something like BTC or something that is quite clearly heading to this bottom right corner. So that's Litecoin. The other thing that I want to take note of is, so there's two more. There's BNB. Actually, there's a couple more. So there's BNB, which is exciting and very well could be breaking out right now. So this isn't showing any strength, like relatively, meaning high time frames. We're not doing anything crazy. You know, the low time frame is obviously uptrending, but so is like a lot of the coins in the market, right? So it's not really anything too crazy. But if we manage to reclaim this 4 hour 200, moving averages, as well as that sort of like supply zone, you could say, right, then that's where this potential comes in for BNB, because that's where we're allowed to just kind of assume that pretty much all of this region is just white space, kind of similar to how it was on the way down, right? We didn't really care. Like your stupid little Ichimoku cloud support or like your liquidation zone or whatever the fuck you're going to call it, or whatever you used. It was totally arbitrary. You know, if you had a gray box drawn here somewhere, we just didn't care. We just kept bleeding, right? You would imagine that the same kind of thing would happen on the way up as well. So that's where BNB becomes interesting. But as of right now, you could still argue that we're at resistance, right? The way that you would start to scale either heavily into that analysis or away from that analysis is by acknowledging, rather than a big block of resistance, rather than the 4 hour 200s very generally, you would give yourself something more pinpoint precise to scale assumptions off of, right? So like this 15-minute range that we pretty much traded in for all of like the past 2 or 3 days or so, right? You could use this to say, oh, look, here we are breaking out of this, region for BNB. We're probably going to continue that trend on a much higher time frame. We're getting that breakout. I'm allowed to look for BNB to, maybe even $300, right? So there's a potential setup there, but obviously as of right now, you risk buying, local resistance mixed with high time frame resistance as confluence to that. So, you know, it's the winner's mindset, right? It's the idea. Another one that kind of coincides along with the exact same thesis as BNB is ADA. So again, not going to spend too much time on this one. I would actually be more willing to play BNB, but ADA is the same kind of concept where it looks like shit, right? And you can absolutely still argue that it looks like shit, but it will look beautiful if it stops looking like shit, right? So this is where it stops looking like shit, which means that it's now looking beautiful. And you can actually use something like the 3 hour 200s to give you a little bit more efficient of a trend to trade, but that kind of makes things a little bit complicated at the same time, because now you have this blip of price action that's telling you, bullish reclaim, breakout retest, blah, 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 whatever, run it back turbo. But it's really just a matter of how are you seeing it and which one do you want to look to trade, right? Either one, you basically come to the same conclusion regardless in, at the end of the week. But it's just a matter of how are you portraying it right now. So you could argue, one is better than the other. Obviously, really the correct answer is that there is no right or wrong. There's only balance. Everything has pros and everything has cons. You have to assess those two pros and cons. And in order to not, let this video drag on longer than it already is, we'll keep that for another video. But yeah, same exact kind of concept here. Another one that looks pretty good is Atom. I have a star next to this one, so that's because you cannot really look to trade Atom on high time frames at the moment, because as of right now, it is only pretty much trading along low time frame price action, right? So very stair steppy kind of price action, no real pullbacks given, and the only pullback that was given was along, something very very low time frame like the hourly 200s, and we didn't even test that. So that's why I had a star next to it. That's why I would say, maybe it's not the most interesting thing. The other reason would be just simply because we're at range highs, right? So it's outperforming in this sense. So if you look at any time, any price action within the past 2 weeks or so, it's definitely outperforming. But when you zoom out higher than that, it's pretty much in the exact same situation that Bitcoin's in, which is we're still stuck in a range, we're still trading around range highs. There's nothing too interesting. There are better looking coins in the market. Um, we have last one that I'm going to put for my watch list, but I do want to also cover another coin just for shits and giggles. Ethereum Classic, same kind of thing. High time frames, you're probably not going to be able to trade this beautifully the way that you would love to. Not everything is going to be rainbows and butterflies and dandelions. So 4 hour 200 is probably a good portrayal of the trend overall, just generally, right? Which means that ideally, this is where you bid Ethereum Classic. So that was this morning, and ever since this morning, we're up 12%. So it's like you have to be quick on your feet for this kind of stuff, right? These are liquid coins. These are coins with lots and lots of volatile or volatility. Their volatile range in terms of like one day is just massively bigger than anything Bitcoin has experienced any time in the past 2 months, right? It's just so much of a different sort of like field of the environment that you have to take an entirely different approach to this kind of stuff. And that's at least the way that I'm seeing it. So 4 hour 200s, yes, we would love, an ideal world where we're able to sort of bid those. We get multiple 4 hour candles, maybe, trading around that region. And then we get to see a reaction. Then we get to acknowledge that reaction starting from a lower time frame and scale our assumptions upwards and blah, 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 yada, yada. But that's not what happened. You either caught the dip and you're printing money, or you're having fun staying poor and sitting on your hands like I am. So if you want to be trading this, you really do have to zoom in to quite a low time frame. Something like the 5 minute is going to be the local trend portrayal, I would think, moving forward. And obviously, if that local trend breaks, because it will inevitably pull up much higher by the time that price action probably comes down. If that trend breaks, then you're allowed to acknowledge that sort of weakness, and then you can start to look for that retest of your 4 hour 200 moving averages, right? Because even if Ethereum Classic did something like this, it would still be structurally from a much larger time frame perspective. It would still be relatively stronger than something like Bitcoin, right? This is now flipping into an uptrend on these high time frames. BTC is still trading at range highs for the past 3 weeks. So massive sort of discrepancy there, right? So you want to be trading these sorts of outperformers on higher time frames as long as they continue to have that sort of justification, right? Meaning as long as they're still above the 4 hour 200s, you can justify giving more attention to Ethereum Classic. The last thing that I do want to talk about is something like LIDO. I know this is a hot one right now. I actually have a video on LIDO journaling just for myself as to why I'm not going to take a trade. And this was immediately after this price action. So the reason that I did not take a trade on LIDO, the video isn't public or anything, is because I'm looking for an ideal sort of pullback retest, right? When you just look at this chart from, at face value sort of perspective, there's nothing really in terms of context, there's nothing really that throws you off about not wanting to trade Lido. When we're trading right here, none of this price action has happened yet, right? You would just kind of turn your brain off and assume, oh, look, we're going up. Here we are reclaiming a massive sort of trend portrayal, right? It's now support. It's likely to be support. And we're probably just going to continue going up. And you're absolutely right. The problem becomes when you're doing this sorts of price action, right? You're following through with that sort of price action when price action looks like this or like this, right? Or like this. That's the issue. That becomes the problem. That is why you're able to sort of justify, okay, maybe I shouldn't be trading Lido, right? You have to be catching this stuff on 5 minute time frames. Prior to this price action, where I have to acknowledge the strength on high time frames for Lido, I have to, right? I do not want to be the person coping and complacent when a new narrative catches on, when new hype forms, when a new retail driven cycle or whatever it may be, and I'm still the one saying, oh yeah, but we're probably just going to go down anyways, bear market, have you seen what the Fed is doing? I'm not here to do that, right? I'm here to print money. How do I print money? By adapting. So I'm forced to adapt. I'm forced to acknowledge the strength that is Lido here, right? But when you have price action that the day before looked like this on low time frames, and then you see the sort of style of how we got to here, how we got to the strength and created the strength that you are now forced to acknowledge, right? When you look at the context behind that, suddenly this is no longer appealing. It's no longer appealing, not in terms of, oh, I don't want to acknowledge bullish arguments anymore. It's probably, bearish. It's probably a fluke. It's probably an exit rally. Everyone's going to get screwed. If you're longing this, you're a complete idiot. It's not that. It's just that I can't trade this. There's no way that I can look at this chart and trade it from my perspective, right? And you're going to look at me, and many of you will look at me and say, well, you're an idiot because you're just letting money, fly right past you. And I would say, well, that's something I'm allowed, or I'm able to sleep comfortably at night with. I really do not care that much about Lido. I don't know anything about the fundamentals. Ask me what it does. Couldn't fucking tell you, right? To me, it is just yet another shitcoin, that 99% of shit coins are solely there so that I can print money using the volatility that they tend to sort of lash out, right? That's it. It's not even, anything more than that. That's purely it. So, from that perspective, I was totally able to justify not trading Lido. The only trade I would ever acknowledge in that sense from, 5 days ago was a bullish one. But when you have to zoom in to the 1 minute time frame to show me the trend, right, that allowed for Lido to create this strength, right, so that I was forced to acknowledge higher time frame bullish arguments. When you have to zoom into the 1 minute to show me that trend, and just prior to that, this is what price action looked like, I'm not going to listen. Right. So that's truly my take on the market. Most of this is illiquid bullshit. That doesn't mean that there's not opportunity for those of you who are willing to, adapt the approach massively. Maybe you assess, different factors than I do, different technical indicators, people who made or people who watch something like open interest or volume or funding, or assess news driven catalysts or narratives or whatever it may be, right? They are allowed to sort of participate in this kind of stuff per my system, per my hourly 200s, 4 hour 200s, market structure, gray boxes, right? My experience, my system, I'm not allowed to. So that was my view on the market. I hope you guys enjoyed. Good luck to everybody in this coming week. Things are starting to pick up quite nicely. Um, PS5 giveaway winner, for those of you who follow me on Twitter, just went out today. So congratulations to that person who won a PS5. I am going to be doing more giveaways in the future. So through Bybit, if you want to sign up through my Bybit referral link, that does support me. That also allows you to be eligible for any future giveaways that I do. And then, yeah, you might win a PS5 or something. This is like the third PS5 that I've given away. And also, Bybit just has a ton of stuff, through their promotional campaigns and whatnot, that if you sign up you get access to all of that: deposit incentives, rewards, you get giveaways, all that kind of stuff. So if you sign up through my link, it does support me a lot. So for those of you who are trading under my link, I really do appreciate it. Just know that never take it for granted. Very much grateful for it. I hope you are just as grateful for these videos because I enjoy making them. So much love to all you guys, and take it easy. Peace.